The program is so large. Today we'll probably discuss, even with questions and so on, we'll probably discuss maybe only 20% of what it really is. So we hope that we would be able to come back at subsequent meetings leading up to continue to give information to you guys on the program itself, because there's a lot of information. There's medicinal, there's a lot of social aspects to it, and we can never discuss it in short meetings or in this setting, or maybe this setting might not be the appropriate setting for it. But point is, this meeting is for the agricultural part of it and how we led up to the law. I will begin with the presentation. So we begin by looking at the current reality in St. Martin. The current reality in St. Martin is that cannabis exists everywhere in St. Martin. Everywhere I go, I like to just look at the position that I'm in, and I look to the right, to the left, forward, backwards, and I try to figure out where I can find cannabis. And usually I can find it within 2 to 5 minutes here as well. If I look to my right, maybe 2 minutes. If I look to my left, maybe 2 minutes. Forward 5 minutes, down the road 3 minutes. It's a reality that we're living with. A lot of people, a lot of us do ignore it. However, advanced countries are actually choosing to regulate rather than ignore. So the question is not if it exists on St. Martin, the question is if it will be regulated, consequently taxed and controlled, or remain illegal, unregulated, and then controlled by the underground market. That's the question that we're going to have to answer, hopefully sometime this year. And the biggest answer, or the main answer, probably the only answer, will official answer would have to come from the from Parliament. Next page. So we're going to talk about the framework, which includes medicinal, religious, scientific, adult, and industrial utilization. Next page. So just a quick executive summary. This is all the points that's going to be discussed. So if anyone leaves right now, you have all the points that are going to be discussed. So the current reality in St. Martin is that cannabis can be accessed in every corner. St. Martin is currently a robust cannabis market, more robust than many bigger countries and islands than us when it pertains to the market. The question is not whether it exists, but whether it will remain unregulated or become properly regulated, thus controlled and thus taxed. There's global consensus that public health is better off with regulation rather than prohibition. So the public health outcomes around the world are resulting to be better served with regulated cannabis markets rather than unregulated and prohibition. There is wide scientific, medicinal, and health research and knowledge base that cannabis has a range of health and therapeutic utility and benefits. If you just do the research, it's there, and we have many experts also on our team who are specialized and licensed in this subject. There was a cannabis legalization interministerial work group set up by the government that worked together with Native Nations SXM to create a comprehensive and inclusive policy. After the sessions with the work group, it lasted about over a year, going on 2 years. We believe that one of the most comprehensive and inclusive approaches to legislation was accomplished for country St. Martin. And we're going to go in a little bit into that as well. The framework has been tailored to St. Martin, meaning that there's an economic and social program that's specifically designed for St. Martin, but also aligned with global best practices. But then still, again, reflecting the island's unique economic, social, and cultural environment. So the framework itself looks at risks, so the risks are mitigated within the framework, and then it exploits the economic opportunities or creates economic opportunities. So basically, the cannabis utilization, the risks of it is mitigated, and then it ventures into creating jobs, about 400 plus jobs, 149 million in tax revenue in 5 years, and this is all done under a Cannabis Oversight Commission. And then the last point is that it includes a major agricultural program as well as sustainability benefits, which includes food sovereignty, it includes agricultural development, the farmers support in a major way, and it serves as a new industry growth driver. So it is not a business, but it's a full agricultural industry that's being created.
The war in Iran will effectively affect the whole Caribbean. It's no secret to that. Oil prices will rise, shipping costs will rise, and for us that is very important. Now, my question to the minister is, have they or will they consult with NVGEB onto how GB sees this affecting the prices of electricity? We don't want a situation where we have extreme spikes in electricity and all of a sudden it is what it is, there's no contesting. Do they see oil prices spiking, not oil price, electricity spiking 10%, 15%, whatever they may be? We really need to prepare the population for these spikes. The government has a responsibility to society, but we as citizens also have to understand how we should move with our finances, our budgeting, etc. And I do believe the government should provide a clear path to this, as well as consulting with shipping companies, consulting with grocery stores, etc. like that. So with that being said, I would like to get those answers and see how we could be more proactive with informing the population on these issues. Thank you.
I think that this is such an important point because as a small island and everything, as the minister indicated, everything is shipped in. We have to be prepared. And I heard one of my other colleagues mention something that I wholeheartedly believe in. If it's not done already, that the ministry should have a task force put in place. I think in this task force, GEBE, but also SOL should be included. And why? Because right now SOL is the only one controlling the oil that is coming in here, and with the prices, etc., the ministry together with SOL, together with GB, will have to do something on maximum prices that SOL will be charging to GEBE, and GEBE then passing on in the fuel clause to the community. Also, what I am looking at, Madam Chair, is the cooperation in the region. We are not the only island that will see an effect or could see an effect from this. I would say will see an effect. The other islands as well. And when we look at historical GDP figures, we look at historical inflation figures that were mentioned here, and I went back and I looked at some figures, you will see a trend throughout the islands of the Caribbean. We are all affected the same way. So I know that we are not part of CARICOM, but we have people from all nations here, and we have been very neighborly, and so we can approach other countries as well and discuss how they are going to to solve this matter in some way or the other, and then not forgetting to look at the Netherlands as well, because when I researched the low sulfur fuel that we use here in GB, where it's refined, one of the main areas that refines low sulfur fuel is Rotterdam. And the whole point is we need to look at bunkering fuel and looking at how we can secure our fuel imports in St. Martin. That was my main point that I wanted to bring here in this first round. Madam Chair, I also just wanted to touch on the CPI because I know that I heard the minister mention the 0.95. I find it low as well, but when I look at other countries in the Caribbean, in 2025 CPI inflation rate actually was between 1.7 and 2.0. And in St. Martin, I know that there is an influence from the French side where there is a push down on our inflation always. And so if we look at the historical numbers, you will see where St. Martin is always a little lower. It doesn't mean necessarily that there is a mistake in the calculation, but there are a lot of things that happen on St. Martin because of our open borders affects the figures that we have, and people need to take that into consideration.
Can the minister confirm whether goods originating from St. Martin are currently subject to 10% baseline tariff imposed by United States? Is St. Martin formally listed as a jurisdiction subject for this? When were they notified? Has the minister conducted an assessment of a specific goods exported from St. Martin to the United States that could be affected by this 10%? Has the ministry evaluated whether these tariffs could directly or indirectly affect the cost of construction material, retail goods, and so on and so on? Will the minister commit to presenting to Parliament a detailed strategy outlining how government intends to secure such? Madam Chair, I have here a photo of an article dated February 11th. It says, Minister of TEAT orders GB to submit tariff structure within 30 days. Today is March 11th. I would like to know, was this received? And it should be received with urgency. Madam Chair, and I stated that I didn't agree with the topic, that the minister orders GB to submit tariff structure. I would have rather seen the minister submit tariff structure because the minister has the authority to do so. Motions upon motions upon motions from 2024. Now today we hear MPs asking about the same stuff that were in the motions. Maximum tariffs on salt, seniors. Everyone is concerned, and I say look back at the voting records. Look back, because we saw it coming. Madam Chair, broken promises upon broken promises. August, December, and we still have a pending public meeting with the Prime Minister for the second round of the GBE. Madam Chair, through you, many persons may be watching this meeting and hearing America and China and tariffs and structure. Let's break it down. GB bills are about to go up again. It's inevitable. Gas price is about to go up again. What I would like is the minister to give a comparison of the cost of goods, 2024, 2025, 2026, if you have the 2026 data. It's too early, but let's see the comparison. We speak of the CPI. CPI is very important because the CPI is used for adjustment of the minimum wage. I have, as a minister, the reason, a former minister, that we diverted from the regulatory way of assessing minimum wage is the fact that using the CPI to me is fooling the people, Madam Chair. If I am drowning and you raise me up 5 centimeters, but then you raise the same water level 5 centimeters, I am still drowning. And that is what's happening with the minimum wage. That is exactly what is happening. That is why we stepped outside of the norm and moved it up, because we would have been far from the thousands still. Guarantee. Ministers are coming to Parliament with no concrete way forward. I see numbers going up with tourism. I give credit where credit is due. But today, no concrete way forward. Madam Chair, I can say this. If GB bills continue to rise astronomically, I will personally bring motion upon motion upon motion. And it can be voted against, as we do not have the majority, but I have a job to do as a member of Parliament. And it is ridiculous. Everyone went on the radio rants, everyone went on media rants and tried to say, oh, we're playing with the public, we're playing, and today now everyone asking about GB prices, GB. When I read the BTP report, Madam Chair, it clearly states the recommendation for the Minister of TAYAT to establish a maximum structure. The Minister of TAYAT, I not only submitted motions, Madam Chair, we submitted an MR, and all of this is linked to the topic at hand because it will affect us personally. And with nothing to tie down Sol, I can only imagine what is going to come, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the grocery prices. We speak about the maximum prices in the basket of goods. What a lot of people may not understand, and I know this for a fact, that a study is done on the most popular brands that is bought. So I may buy, just an example, Kellogg's cornflakes. And a maximum price may be put on Kellogg's. But that don't mean that every cornflake brand has a maximum price. I want to clarify that. So the ministry uses whatever popular brands are bought. So we may see disparity. But there used to be advertisements on links on where you can go to complain, Madam Chair, if things are not right. I'm not seeing that being pushed. The country is in a spiral. We speak about the inflation of construction goods. I was one that faced it with the St. Martin General Hospital, where we had the 4th Amendment. Now we see today, they're asking for 20 million more. And this is just one construction project. It doesn't show the effects of people who are building, people who are trying to build apartments, people who are working, the bus prices, the gas prices.
The fact that so many professionals from different disciplines have gathered here today speaks to the importance of this topic. At the intersection of law, psychology, psychiatry, and public safety lies one of the most complex responsibilities of any justice system: understanding the individual behind the offense. Before entering public office, part of my legal work involved death penalty trials in the United States. In that work, mitigation investigation plays a central role. Mitigation work focuses on investigating and presenting a person's life history to the court: their mental health, their trauma, family environment, developmental history, and the circumstances that shaped their life long before any crime was committed. What that work teaches you very quickly is that human behavior rarely exists in isolation. The act that brings someone into a courtroom is often the final chapter of a much longer story. Mitigation asks us to understand the who behind the act, because the who often explains the how and the why, even when that explanation does not make the act any easier to accept. Recently, I was reminded of this again while reading a book that was published just last month by an old colleague of mine who has spent many years working as a mitigation specialist in the US. The book left me deeply inspired about the work that still lies ahead of us in building justice systems that respond to people more intelligently and more humanely. One of the lessons that stayed with me is that when justice systems fail to recognize mental health struggles, trauma, and the vulnerabilities that shape people's lives, that they often risk perpetuating cycles rather than breaking them. And this is precisely where forensic, psychological, and psychiatric assessment becomes so important. A well-substantiated forensic mental health report helps us to understand possible relationship between the mental disorder and the offense, and the relationship between the condition and the potential risk that a person may pose. It provides courts with the professional insight necessary to make informed decisions that are not only legally sound, but also responsible from a society perspective. When done well, this work not only informs sentencing, but it helps determine the interventions that can reduce future risk and prevent individuals from returning to the system, as Ms. Philemon also rightly noted in her opening remarks. In many ways, this work sits at the intersection of two different ways of understanding human behavior. The law asks questions about responsibility and accountability, while psychiatry and psychology seek to understand the underlying cause of that behavior. Forensic experts are therefore asked to bridge these perspectives by translating complex behavioral realities into findings that courts can meaningfully apply. In doing so, forensic experts perform a uniquely demanding role. They are asked to translate complex psychological realities into findings that courts can understand, rely on, and ultimately use to make decisions that affect liberty, safety, and treatment. A good forensic report does justice to the individual who's being assessed. It's not a generic document. It's a careful, individualized evaluation that requires expertise, time, and professional integrity. It must be scientifically grounded, transparent in its reasoning, and sufficiently substantiated to allow the courts to rely on its conclusions. In that sense, the quality of the forensic reporting is not simply a technical matter. It's fundamental to the credibility of our justice system itself. And at the same time, it's important to recognize that the professionals who carry out this work operate within structural realities. Forensic experts require the conditions necessary to perform their work properly: adequate time, appropriate compensation, and a professional framework that supports the high-quality assessments are not just luxuries. They are prerequisites for a functioning forensic system. In that context, it's also important to acknowledge the broader legal framework within which we operate. The Kingdom continues to strengthen its approach to forensic care following the judgment of the European Court of Human Rights in the case Murray v. the Netherlands. It might be known to some of the group, but if not, I'll go a little bit into it now. That judgment underscored that when a state deprives someone of their liberty, that it also assumes a responsibility to provide appropriate care and treatment.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now. SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
One thing I know for sure, that these problems has persisted for quite a long time. And unfortunately, when you bring up the past, some folks have long toes. And because they have long toes, they think, but the past also includes my tenure when I was a member of the Executive Council and a member of the COM. And I'm saying this to say, we often come in here, we often call meetings, and we talk about the problems. But it's also our role as legislators and as part of the government to try to come with some of the solution to those problems.
MP Myers, with your indulgence, I see that MP Duran wishes to make an interruption, which I will allow at this time. MP Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, listening to my colleagues speak, we mentioned that we just want to be able to contribute. So I think we did come with solutions. I think that I mentioned that we need to go back to how things were before the strict rule came to place. So when hearing my colleagues speak about us not coming with solutions, maybe he arrived a bit late. I don't know. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Duran.
For clarity, Madam Chair, MP Duran was the first person to speak, and I was here when he spoke. Just for clarity, for the record.
So we have that, and then because there's also a time factor that we need to take into consideration when I allow interruptions, because we need to allow the MP who is speaking their time. As you know, this is a public meeting, and thus the time is tied to 20 minutes in the first round, 10 in the second. But I will, since we had a little pause here by me explaining that, I'll allow MP Iran to make his interruption, and then I'll allow MP Myers to continue. MP Iran, your interruption.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make it clear to MP Myers, we did bring solutions, and one of my solutions were the same procedure we did for Soul Beach without having a policy or it being budgeted, and other entities that we paid. Let's have that same urgency for the schools. That was my solution, and I don't believe maybe the MP again missed out, wasn't paying attention, but a lot of solutions were brought. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Iran. MP Myers, you may continue.
Madam Chair, thank you. The one thing which will take me off, and I'm going to save that for another meeting, but it'll take me off of my course, because this Soul Beach thing seems to be a thorn in the opposition. It seems to be something. The only thing that they've come up with in the last year, Soul Beach left, Soul Beach right, Soul Beach. But my suggestion to the minister is to, we have another member coming for an interruption. I'll hold tight.
MP Myers, I would have actually allowed you to finish your train of thought and then allow the interruption, but since you gracefully permitted it, I'll allow MP York to. MP York, based on MP Myers' admission that you may. Interruption. MP York.
I didn't even go to this Soul Beach.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I find it quite ironic and kind of weird, the comments from the good MP Myers about solutions, because the whole reason this meeting was called was because we would like to actually do the things we would like to do for the schools. I've been well documented, my colleagues have been well documented, my efforts of what I would like to do for the M. Genevieve has been well documented. And Madam Chair, how can it be we sitting down here talking about the policy? The things that I want to do and going to do for M. Genevieve, the Weaver Primary School, when another school requests the same thing, one school gets a yes, the next school gets a no. So we're here trying to find out what is going on with this policy in order to get to the bottom of it, in order to do these solutions ourselves. So we're not asking anybody here for any help. We want to do it for the schools ourselves, and we want to understand why we are being prohibited from doing such. It's real simple. So again, maybe the good MP was not paying attention, he came in late, but this is the reason why we are here today. So I would like to help the MP with this
York,
additional information.
I was giving
Thank you,
you
Madam Chair.
a signal that the interruptions are about being brief, making an assertion or a comment or a quick question, but we can't use that as an in-between round between rounds. So I now allow MP Myers to continue. MP Myers?
Madam Chair, thank you so much. Thank you for the interruptions. Sometimes there's a little fight left in the old dog. And the young fellas just feel because I've come and I've tried to be diplomatic all the time. They figure, man, we could kick the mule. Let me make something clear. I believe that solutions to the problems that exist is the only way we're going to move forward, regardless to who brings those solutions to those problems. My suggestion to the minister, and I do not know what the minister, what her plans are, but my suggestion to the minister is if the present situation isn't working and how the procurement is being done, that it be revamped. That what should be done then is a procurement manager should be put in place who handles all of the distribution of all of the essentials to all of the public schools, where the public schools then come up with the list that they need for the year. Because MP Roseberg mentioned in the Netherlands, where she went to school, that she was not faced with these kind of situations. But I went to public school here in St. Martin. I went to the Old Ponside School, and I went to Middleton Peters College. And at that time, we were not faced with those situations. So what has happened is our current demand on these things has outgrown the way in which we manage the distribution of essentials to the schools. That is what has happened. So it needs to be revamped. Maybe the minister is working on it. Maybe she's doing it. In my opinion, based on what the members of the opposition is saying, in my personal opinion, this is a meeting that this is something that they could have wrote to the minister. They could have wrote to the minister. They could have wrote and asked the minister these questions. But you know, they prefer to come in here and speak about these things as if, and the reason I say as if, Madam Chair, one of the things that never stops to amaze me is how short people's memories are. How short people's memories are. Now, again, I'm holding back because there are certain things I believe that I'm going to put aside for our next meeting. The members, and my last thing before I close, Madam Chair, 2 members have got up here and spoke because I was late. I was late because I had an appointment at the cardiologist on the front side. I want the public of St. Martin to do that. My appointment was set for the 9th of March at 12:30 in the afternoon. I called the Griffier and I told him that I will be running late. Madam Chair, for every meeting, there are 4 members of parliament, 5 members of parliament that is here on time, all of the time. MP Johnston Webster, MP Franklin Myers, MP Chris Waver, and MP Dimala Bega that is here on time, all of the time, before every meeting. So I hope now that when the members of parliament are talking about time, and I make an issue of who shows up when a meeting is supposed to start at 10 o'clock, and they waltz in here at 12, and a meeting is supposed to start at 9 o'clock, and they waltz in here at 1, and I bring it up. I hope this is the little petty, foolish politics that we like to play that does not solve any solutions to what anyone does.
you SHV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SHV is cardless. Request your MySHV account today and enter the virtual office of SHV. Go to shv.sx and sign up now.
SHV, yeah, your social health insurances.
Those on the other side, the PNM, were in government, blood flowed on our streets. That was driven by violent gangs fighting for turf to sell illegal arms and narcotics trafficked into our country by the drug cartels. Whilst that was happening, many in the PNM hierarchy fattened their pockets from their local drug mafia financiers, while the people of this country, our country, suffered. I say, Honourable Speaker, a short distance away from this building, the new blood-red Balje House stands as a gravestone to drug money, pedophilia, and theft. Almost a decade.
Prime Minister, can I ask you to use more neutral language as we move on?
It's a class of persons. If it falls in your garden, in your front yard, so be it. Between 2010, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
She was there, so she would know.
Between 2010 and 2015, 2015 and 2025, do we remember, we need to remember these things, there were 124,062 crimes under your watch. You were there, under your watch. This one you could take in your garden. Over 5,000 persons were murdered violently. Over 9,000 were brutally raped or sexually assaulted. And over 11,000 persons were robbed of their hard-earned possessions under that former government. And they did nothing. They did nothing. They did nothing. Methinks, I think, sometimes, that they seem to take perverse pride in the fact that PNM strongholds have amongst the highest crime rates, the highest unemployment, the lowest educational attainment, the lowest opportunities, and the worst infrastructure in the country under their watch, under their watch. And you know, Mr. Speaker, that is why you hear some of them on the other side every day crying. They're like crybabies, crying every day about radars, about U.S. troops, about U.S. lists. I don't really worry, Honourable AG, if maybe some of their names on that list. I don't know. I haven't seen the list. Worried about list, about radar, about the U.S. troops. The PNM, some of them, the local drug mafia financiers, some of them, the pedophile lodge friends, and the fake eater food elite clearly view...
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
48-4, please.
I don't think it's offensive and insulting directed to a member of the House. It's not directed to a member of the House.
Mr. Speaker, if you are saying that statement is not directed to a member of the House?
There is no member to whom it's directed. It's directed at an entity which all members are entitled to. The member for Port of Spain not just asked the member for Orapooch and put it like that. I'm not going to repeat it, but it's not directed at a member of the House.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, Honourable Speaker, the member for Rima and I were in the law class together. So you know how to craft your statements as a good lawyer. I have not named anyone. If you want to take ownership of it, take it. But I have not named any of them. Not one. So today, that is the history, sir, and I'll move on. Today, history is moving forward. I've just set out what we inherited, where we came over that almost 1 decade. History today is moving forward. And I stand today to let the people of our country know, you know, they keep saying the Prime Minister must do this. The Prime Minister must do that. The Prime Minister must do this, must. You cannot tell me what I must do. It's only the people of the country. It is only the people of our land. The electorate who put us here. This is our mandate, and I will answer to them, and that's what I'm doing today. I'm answering to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Good day, and I'll give thanks.
That's Dwight Lynch, a fisherman in Harty, St. Thomas. He went to sea Saturday, and just one catch eclipsed his last 10 catches. This is the result. A fish on top of a vehicle, like new furniture being transported. It was a supreme venture into 9 Mile Bull Bay that landed him a fisherman's jackpot.
First shoot, first dive, a spear of barracuda. Second fish is this one, giant grouper. Them call him Goliath grouper. We call him June fish.
263 pounds. This was the moment before the scale confirmed it. Many eager and making guesses.
What? Don't watch out, people. Watch out. 300 already. 304
I minus the board after.
So heavy, it wasn't a one-man job. It wasn't even a one-shot job.
I was overweight. I have on a 5.5 millimeter diving suit, and I was so overweight I wasn't comfortable. So the shot where I took wasn't so accurate. So I'm running the rock, break the spear. So I have to come up back, go to the boat, make a phone call, tell Brother Lynch, say, bring 2 more spear guns and send me 2 divers. So I get some backup, so them help me, keep me company, give me a strength. So I may do all of the shooting and thing, but them really keep me company. We give me around 3 shots.
It took them several hours to secure the fish. One of the divers recalled the risky yet thrilling experience.
We were there about 3 hours, then we called for the other diver after some time. Ocean, otherwise known as Bounty. So he was the last diver that came on site and helped finish the job. So it was a combination of the 4 of us. We're all divers. We have our separate profession, and we did what we do best. Get the job done, stick to the game plan. Teamwork, make the dream work.
No, this wasn't the first rodeo for Mr. Lynch. While this catch remains the largest, he's had multiple catches that were above average in terms of size.
And this is my 5th one. Yeah, man, we kill them with 30, 32, 170, 195, 150. Yeah, man, and this one, 260 now. It was a good day.
He's been a fisherman for over 20 years and has relied on the trade to pay bills and stay afloat. And by the look of things, the water treats him well. Ramarda Lyons, TVJ News.
This is our SXM Daily Newscast. Thank you for joining us.